coffee.
Well, if no one's gonna drink this, maybe I'll just... Ugh, that's terrible. That's...
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good golly, Miss Molly. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Brian. I hope you're all having a lovely morning, and this show lasts as long as my coffee lasts, as Gary says, and this is a big cup, so we may be here for hours. Cheers. So a great big welcome to everybody out there on YouTube, on Rumble, Facebook, and KGRA Digital Broadcasting. Welcome to you all. Thanks for being here. Thanks to everybody who's already here in the chat on YouTube. It's great to see you all, and we'll be chatting to you all, I'm sure, as the show goes on. And this morning's show is going to be all about our love for that wonderful series of movies, John Wick, and the character of John Wick. Given that John Wick 4 has an imminent general release of March 24th. So it's exciting. It's actually a movie I'm going to go and see in the cinema, which is fairly rare these days. So looking forward to that. So, but we also have some wonderful people with us today on the stream joining us. We have our regulars, of course, Martin, who's hiding back there. Oh, he's popped out again. He's gone. Hello, Martin. How are you, sir?
Hello. I'm well.
Yeah, you're being shy, popping in and out.
Yeah.
Anyway, good to see you here, mate. Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. And thanks for manipulating behind the scenes as usual. Also, I'd like to welcome our regular great friend, John. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing okay.
Cool, yes. And you're back from your little break where you had a few personal medical things to take care of. So we're all really glad to see you back and looking well, my friend.
Thank you.
Your mic's a little low if you just want to see if you can pop that up a little bit. But also today we're joined with a couple of special guests. So I'd like to introduce these gentlemen who I've streamed with many times, and we'll be talking a little bit about that too. First of all, my great friend Dustin from the Keto Simple channel. How are you, my friend?
I'm well. Thanks so much for having me. It's awesome. It's weird streaming in the morning.
That's right. It's a real shocker, you know, and it's okay for Gary and who obviously owns Pop Culture Minefield, because he set these up to start at 10 a.m. Central Time, the time zone he's in. It doesn't take into account people like us who are further west and in an earlier time. So this is like an ungodly hour to get up.
Yeah.
Good morning to you, Penny. So Dustin, just before we go any further, tell us a little bit about Keto Simple, and we'll obviously try and plug your channel later on too.
Yeah. So we do a lot of product reviews. We do cooking, some cooking. I've been slacking on the cooking content, but basically anything dealing with the ketogenic lifestyle, whether it's stuff you probably should have, or we also tell you the stuff you shouldn't have as well. We, not trying to be keto police or anything like that, but yeah, my wife and I do that, and we have a lot of fun and growing that and showcasing like weight loss and such, because just a high level background. Started at over 420 pounds, and now I'm down well over 120 pounds. So
Cool. Good for you, mate. The
Yeah.
Keto Police sounds like a great concept, though. I think we could make a whole show around that, a whole television show. We are the Keto Police. You know, they use stakes to, you know, they're no guns. They use meat.
just hit people with frozen burgers.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks for joining us, my friend. Appreciate it very much. And I'd like to welcome another special guest to the show, my very good friend Mark D with a C. How are you, sir?
Hello, thank you for having me. I don't know how special I am, but glad to be here.
Well, you're very special to me.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, great set of movies here. So great characters. So looking forward to talking about John Wick today.
Nice, good, indeed. And you have a channel too, of course.
Yeah, I
So
do
would
have a
you like
channel
to just
too. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your channel.
Lots of toys. So if you want to see toy reviews, there's an old Gabrielle from Xena days. If you remember that old, God, it's an old show now, Xena Warrior Princess. But it was just down in Nashville, a great toy store down there, McKay's Books. Toys, videos, records, vinyls, movies. So great place to visit. So if you come to my channel for toy reviews, general geek talk, I do some 3D printing. So here's a cool thing hand from Wednesday. So
nice
3D printing on my channel, and you can see the background. Maybe there's one or two geek or nerd things back there. So,
Yeah, just one or two.
Just one or two. Yeah. So I love that stuff. And my main show was Sunday Night Geek. We would hang out on Sunday night talking all the geek things of the week, and it always ends up talking about food. Maybe not keto stuff, but there is a lot of food talk that ends up on my channel because I love to cook barbecue and different things too. So it's a whole smorgasbord of stuff. But glad to be here, and thank you. Yep.
And you somebody's asking where's Clobby. Well, of course, you work very closely with Clobby of Clobbering Times, and Clobby doesn't do mornings, I don't think.
Well, I guess maybe once in a while. He said he'd try to stop by if he was conscious, right? He's a night owl, like most of us streamers, I guess, right?
Yeah,
so
he'd be welcome to drop by. Well, one of the I'm going to remove you from the solo layout. There you go. So,
that's less scary. Thank you.
I think we lost John, unfortunately, but he'll be back. I'm sure he's got a few technical issues. So Martin's been throwing up everybody that's not been throwing up as in the vomiting sense. Throwing up everyone that's been in the chat. So hello everybody that's here. We've got Orlando Dragon, Monkey Jeebus, Deleted Scenes. Good to see you, sir. We have Davina, the wonderful Davina Duckworth. Nice to see you. Good morning to you. Anima Confusa, our great friend of the entire pop culture minefield sphere. We have Jude's Wacky World. We got Penny. Good to see you too. We have Dragon Ruse. And forgive me, anybody, if I miss you, but we will catch you later. I promise we won't ignore you, and we'll be throwing those chats up and hopefully interacting with you throughout the stream. So one of the things that obviously I wanted to do a John Wick stream because I'm a huge fan of these movies for various reasons, and we'll talk about that. But one of the other things that Dustin and Mark that we're involved with is we're regular panelists on a show called Toxic Tuesdays, which is over on our great friend Nick Visor's channel, 32 Flavors of Nick Visor. And the last 3 weeks, well, tonight we're doing John Wick 3. So we did John Wick 1 2 weeks ago, John Wick 2 last week, and tonight we're doing John Wick 3 in advance of the release of John Wick 4. So we've been talking a lot about John Wick, the three of us. And for everybody who's never been to 32 Flavors of Nick Visor, our great buddy Nick, go sub to Nick and go and set the notifications for Toxic Tuesday every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Time. I don't know what that is in real time, but it's 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So we've had a lot of fun talking about those movies, I guess, guys, and I appreciate you coming in here to extend that conversation because there's always more to talk about, don't you think?
That's
Yeah.
for
Us
sure. Yeah.
civilized people, that'll be 10 p.m. Eastern.
Eastern, what is that? Where is that East thing?
East,
Where-
yeah.
There is no
Like,
such
you know-
thing as it. We need universal time.
Just one time, right? Yeah. So we don't.
Yeah, we should have
don't mess it up.
universal time across the entire planet. So let's pick a time. I say we pick mountain time. So I don't get more jet lag. But yeah, 10 a.m. mountain time would be 10 a.m.
That'd
in
be-
London.
It'd be dark
Dustin.
in certain places, right? Yeah. I don't know how that would work. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with D. Bud Martin. UTC, the only real time. I agree. Universal time. And then when it would work, because then when you're out in space, you don't have to worry about the time lag. You just, as long as you've got a 24-hour atomic clock, it would always be universal time wherever you go. Then again, we have relativity to consider. So, but enough of that. So anyway, Toxic Tuesday tonight is John Wick 3 Parabellum. We'll be going into that in extreme detail. And we have a lot of fun in these Toxic Tuesday shows. They're not for the faint-hearted.
It's going to be wet.
It's going to be wet, yes. Moist and wet, and there's a lot of hugging.
Yeah. Do we have that? Do you have that video loaded?
I
could send it
don't.
to you.
I don't. You might have to send it to me. So,
I'll send
but
you that one. Yeah.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about John Wick. What I'd like to do today is not so much talk about the movies individually, although we may well do a little bit of that. Play some trailers. We're going to play some of those great training videos of Keanu that I know a lot of people have seen already, but they're always fantastic. The tactical ones. And Halle Berry's got hers, of course, and there's other clips of that nature. What I'd really like to discuss a little bit is the characters and the lore of the films. Welcome back to John, who's back with us. And ever since the first movie, which was back in 2014, I mean, originally you get the feeling when you're watching it that this is a bit of a revenge action flick. But as things go on, we start to understand there's more to that world than that. And there's actually an awful lot of hidden lore, which as the movies have gone on has started to come out, and a lot of concepts and characters have been introduced. And I know we were laughing about it in the channel on the show last week about the number of just about every beggar and homeless person in New York appears to be part of this underworld.
Yeah. Assassins. Yeah.
So in fact, everybody in the parks appears to be assassins or connected to this world. So it's quite funny.
Well, yeah, like you said, 70s. Yeah, the movie starts like a traditional, action flick, and spoiler alert. I mean, everyone's seen the first John Wick, I hope by now. But he's at the gas station with his awesome '69 Boss Mustang, and some punk kid comes up to him, young guy, and is asking about his car, and he doesn't know who he's messing with. So that's the beauty of the movie too. When you think it's this, Reeves is not an imposing guy, and when they kill his dog obviously and steal his car, and the dog, it was the last gift from his wife, and then the father finds out he's a mob boss, crime boss. You did what? And then the guy, the guy's like, oh, when he finds out, he talks to his buddy, who's John Leguizamo, who's, punches his son. He's like, you know what your son did? He killed John Wick's dog and stole his car. He's like, oh, so, that's the basic setup for all the movies. I know we're not going to go into all the details, but and then it kind of, that second movie, you kind of introduced to the assassins. And I always wonder if they had this all planned out. I mean, because I wouldn't say goes off the rails, but that becomes the main focus of the next few movies.
Yeah, it isn't interesting how. Sorry, go ahead, Dustin. Yeah,
I was just going to say, I was wondering that too. Like, when they made the first one, did they have any idea there was going to be lore? Did they have any idea that there was going to be 2, 3, 4 and TV shows, I guess, coming out as well.
Well, TV show and another spin-off movie apparently, as well as a fifth John Wick. So this is what you've got to wonder, and you wonder about a lot of things. Is there a continuation because the first one is a hit, and they have to continue it, or they have then the means to, or do they have it all planned out? Because the lore, I'll call it the lore, I guess the hidden world of John Wick is only lightly touched upon in the first movie. You certainly introduced the Continental Hotel in New York and one or two other elements, but only in the second, the third, and then heavily in the fourth are they really going to build up that backstage, backdoor world, as Gary would say, the backdoor world.
And the Mario coins.
And there's things like that I definitely want to sort of go through all of that stuff, because it's so did they have it planned? I mean, I know the original writer is and we'll talk about him in a minute, is a different guy from the subsequent movies, and the original writer went on to write Nobody, which clearly has John Wick influences written all over it. A great movie, Nobody. I mean, I'm a huge action fan guy, so Nobody was, I thought, was a brilliant kick-ass movie, and it has many of the same elements. A guy who's retired or trying to get away from a past life as a man with skills, particular set of skills, dragged back into it, and then there's a whole subculture underneath it that we start to figure out. Oh, Nobody's a great movie. The bus, I know we're going off on a tangent, but the scene on the bus where he fights on the bus is epic. I won't give any more away than that, but there's a fight on a bus.
I didn't watch it yet, as I thought it was kind of a continuation of like that Better Call Saul like universe. I guess I just was missing
Nothing
to
do
with it.
No, it's nothing to do with those at all, Dustin, which is great. I mean, it totally subverts your expectations there, because you wouldn't necessarily take Bob Odenkirk, and say, we're going to make you an action star. You know,
Right.
the man's already in his middle-aged. Keanu, you can see it. You know, I mean, with the Matrix movies as well, he's established himself as an action star already. So it's not a stretch to see him as John Wick, but Bob Odenkirk and Nobody is like, literally starts the film as a middle-aged nobody, you know, and then his true self is revealed. Actually, if you want, sorry, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just to say, yeah, he turns out to be some kind of agent, so that, you know, minor spoilers, but it's that he's not a nobody, which is the fun thing about it. It's a little, I don't know if you call it more realistic, but he takes a lot of damage in the movie. He's not, you know, it's not like he's a super ninja who just, you know, takes everyone out. So, and John Wick, that was one of the criticism, you know, he gets that bulletproof suit, but I think you know, he needed to get that, otherwise he's going to be wiped out. But that's what's so beautiful about the fight scenes in these John Wick movies are just phenomenal. I think I was just watching the third movie and getting ready for Toxic Tuesday, and I think they even upped their game in that third movie with some of those fight scenes. And then, you know, you're going to talk about how Mr. Reeves trains and he's proficient with the weapon. So you know, sometimes you see some old movies and the guys, you know, they're shooting like this, you know, they have no idea how to hold the gun, and they're like, and you know, he's really knows his stuff in terms of handling the weapons, which makes it more believable.
That is one of the things we talked about on Toxic Tuesday about these movies, is that every few years there's almost like an upping of the game in action movies. So if you go back to the 60s, you had James Bond, which set a new standard. Then you get into the 70s, you would have Clint Eastwood, and then later on into the late 70s, 80s, you'd have Arnie and Stallone and those kind of action movies. Then you would get the Bourne, then you got the Bourne movies, which again upped the standard for how you portray action, and Taken as well. Different generation of movies entirely, with far more incredible filming of action and more fluidity and realism in the not realism in the effects that you can get beaten in the head 20 times and not have a scratch, but realism in the sense of fast action that looked like it was happening, not staged, choreographed stuff, that fluidity. And then, of course, in 2014 came John Wick. I guess you could say the Matrix was in between, but it was, you know, the sci-fi edge in that meant the action was part of it, but wasn't everything. Whereas in John Wick, the action again took it to a new level, I think. The fluidity is just incredible. So it raised the bar yet again, and then you get films like Nobody kind of coming along on top of that. This is my favorite poster for John Wick 2, I think is.
I wonder why.
I think they always up the accuracy in the portrayal of how firearms should be handled, and because I mean, if you get like something where you've got like Arnold Schwarzenegger and there's somebody holding a minigun and they're shooting into the forest, that's unrealistic. I mean,
come on, Arnold could hold a minigun.
I mean, you can hold it, but you're not gonna fire 3,000 rounds of 308 per second. There's just a minute or whatever. You're not going to do it. And
even the holding it is a bit much. I mean, what does those things weigh with a full belt of ammunition? I mean, the weight is incredible.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, a lot of weight. Even each round probably weighs, I don't know, so many grams. It's.
I mean, Commando is one of my favorite movies. Of ammunition per minute. You would need some friends to help you move 3,000 rounds of ammunition.
Yeah,
exactly.
I see the containers for the ammo. That thing.
Yeah, Martin, you're saying that the container alone is.
Yeah, and when you see the container just for 1,000 rounds, and you see the little backpack that they were using for the ammo, you see, no, there's 300, 500 maximum there.
Well, Commando is one of my favorite movies, but it is
85 pounds.
How much is that, John?
85 pounds is what the gun itself weighs.
85. So it's no small amount. I mean, that's when you add everything else on top of that. And yeah, okay, guys like Arnie and Sly are meant to be able to bench press hundreds of pounds, but yeah, it starts to get to the point where you're maybe you couldn't do that for 5 minutes,
Yeah, it's totally unrealistic movies, but they're fun in that 80s action way. No, I know.
Yeah, I mean,
but then this seems more like what we're trying to say, I guess, here is this. It's more sleek, and he uses a handgun a lot of the time.
Yeah,
versus you said, the big cannons or big mini guns or.
Yeah, there's a lot of handgun, a lot of objects in the environment. I mean, as somebody mentioned, you can kill 3 people with a pencil,
Yeah.
6 by now.
6 by now. He's not as good as Sean Connery, who could kill someone with his thumb, apparently, in the Presidio or whatever that movie was. Just used his thumb. Yeah, but it's set a new standard, and I guess that's because it's directed by stuntman and stunt producer Chad Stahelski. I can never pronounce that name properly. So there's a level of craft went into it right from the beginning. So I think. Well, by the way, just before I forget, speaking of fights on buses, there's a fantastic Korean movie called The Roundup, where there's Don Lee does a fantastic fight on a bus. He did it before Nobody as well. So, what I'd like to do is take a little look at each character and what we know about them in these movies. So starting with John Wick himself. So John Wick, who is John Wick? We see the first movie, at the beginning of the first movie, we know he was married, and we know his wife passed away. We know he has a really nice car, which now there's a debate for you, Mark. Is the brutal killing and unnecessary killing of his puppy, or the killing of the car in the second movie, the worst crime committed in these movies?
I was saying that in the last Toxic Tuesday. I have a 67 Mustang, so I'm a big time Mustang lover, and I also love dogs too. So I'm not going to dog people mad at me, but I was cringing when that Mustang was taking a beating there. So the good thing is maybe it'll be ready back in time for John Wick 4, I guess, or what was the quote? It'll be ready Christmas 2030.
That's right. Yeah, John Leguizamo.
So, but actually, that was horrendous for Mustang fans or car lovers.
Yeah,
to see that car wrecked, but
It's pretty bad,
hopefully
wasn't
it'll
it?
be back. I was crying inside when I saw that. But what
I
a
bet you were.
gorgeous vehicle! Yeah,
Indeed. So John Wick, we find out. I mean, we find out he's a retired professional hitman, which explains a lot when he kicks into action. So he has a whole backstory and career of being a retired professional hitman, and he apparently worked for, maybe not exclusively, he worked for the Tarasov mob, who feature certainly in the first movie heavily, and then somewhat in the second movie. Whether he worked for them exclusively or not, we don't know. But still, at this point, at that point, we still don't know that there's this whole other thing above the high table, and then this collective of assassins. I'm not sure that we even have a name for that ever given. What are these guys? Do they have a name? Are they just the group of assassins? We know there's a high table and a set of crime families, but I don't think we ever get a name for what would John Wick say he was a member of, what is he part of? I don't think we ever get that name. He's just
you never hear it, right? It's just they have all the set of rules. They go to the Continental, I guess, to get their suits and their weapons, and but you never hear were they almost like freelancers or. And the whole genre of all the ladies that telephone operators on they have these old CRT.
Oh, we're going to get to those.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that whole genre that's set up.
Yeah.
So, but you never hear what their name is, right?
No, at this point we've got none of that, and we don't know anything about that organization. We do know that the Tarasov, a chance encounter with Yosef, I think it is, Tarasov, triggers this whole set of events where they screw him up, steal his car, kill his puppy, and then he gets revenge. And of course, Michael Nyquist's Viggo Tarasov, when he finds out who his son has been messing with, okay, right, okay, now we know why this shit is happening. And he's got nicknames. He's Baba Yaga.
Yep.
He's the Boogeyman. Baba Yaga seems to be the main nickname that he's known by, but who gave him that and why? Have they all got nicknames? Is every one of these assassins got a name? We don't know. So we do know that he'd settled down with his wife. He'd completed some task, which we found out a little bit later through one of the other characters later, who says, you completed Santino d'Antonio, I think.
Yeah.
There was an impossible task in his past where he did some incredible thing and he was allowed to retire as a result, or thought he could retire. So we get a little bit of info about that. So he's in retirement. Unfortunately, his wife dies. She leaves him a puppy. Alfie Allen, the nutless from Game of Thrones, steals his car, kills his dog, and then
you may say he was trying to overcompensate.
That's right. He's overcompensating a little. And carnage ensues, which we love. I mean, the carnage is just incredible. And we do get and I actually don't have a picture of him, unfortunately. We do get the introduction of John Leguizamo's character, who we know is a chop shop. What skills he has on top of that, we don't know. I'm not sure we ever find out. We just know that he's connected to this world, and he certainly is a friend of John's.
And he's
not
important.
afraid. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
I was just say he seems more important than just a chop shop guy.
He does. He's not scared of anybody, which is interesting. Right. He's certainly not scared of the Tarasov mob, even though theoretically he works for them, as John did, we think, or not. So there's a lot hidden underneath the surface already. In the first movie, they don't particularly spell a lot of it out, whether that's because they didn't want to or they didn't know where it was going. I think it's probably because there was a certain level of planning. But So then another major character in all the movies is the very, very wonderful Winston, played by the magnificent Ian McShane. I mean, Ian McShane is just the most phenomenal actor. Now, I remember him from years ago, being British, of course, playing things like Lovejoy, characters like Lovejoy. He was an antiques dealer, so pretty far from pretty far from where he plays here. And then, of course, he had tons of guest appearances in British TV shows like Space 1999, and you name it, he was in all of these things. And then Sexy Beast was a brilliant movie where he played a hard man for the first time, or a tough guy, and then Deadwood where he just slayed it. I mean, nobody swears like Swearingen. Swearingen. So he's the manager of what we know as the Continental Hotel in New York, and at this point in the first movie we only know of one. Turns out there's multiple Continental hotels around the world, of course. He's the manager of the Continental Hotel. I think it takes a while as the movies develop before we find out that there may be something above him even. At this point, he's the manager of that hotel. It could be a standalone for all we know. And he's generally friendly towards John, likes John, calls him Jonathan, in fact. He's one of his closest allies throughout the franchise, even though he has to play the game of, as we find out, the high table and the rules of this world. He has to excommunicate John, or as to otherwise throw him out at times, even though he really, really wants to help him. Tons of contacts, seems to know the whereabouts of a lot of people. Now, whether that's through that room full of women doing stuff, or whether he's just got his own network, we're not sure. We don't know how he became to run we don't know how he became to manage the Continental. We don't know if he's got other skills, although he can certainly handle a gun.
Yeah, was he an assassin? You have to be an assassin at first. Well, that's kind of inferred in the third movie that Halle Berry's character says, "I'm no longer in services; I'm now in management." So maybe maybe that he was an old assassin.
I think you got to imagine that he was, or he wouldn't get into that position. So he may have been one of them who's graduated to management. There's a suggestion in fan sites that he might be John Wick's father-in-law. It's never made clear. It's just a fan theory that John's wife was his daughter.
Interesting. Yeah.
Never made entirely clear. It's plausible, but who knows? But he's his background, even to this point, is still pretty shady. But he's a damn great character that we know. Then you've got the Tarasov mob. That's I can't remember which this brother's name is. It's the one in John Wick 2, played by it's Peter Stormare, which is brother. But the Tarasovs, John apparently worked for them, and they're a crime family, mob family. And at this point, again, we don't know anything about High Table or indeed a wider network, but apparently as things go on, we find there are other crime families. And the suggestion is that the crime families run or comprise the High Table in some way, implying that this whole, apparently everyone in the world being a member of this whole assassin network is purely to serve their interests, these crime families. So I guess like in Godfather, when you've got 6 crime families meeting around the table for dinner in New York and New Jersey deciding what's going to go on, that's possibly what they're getting at, except this time it's global. And this is fantastic stuff when Michael Nyquist discover his dumb son killed John's puppy.
He did what?
You did what? He's almost tempted to kill his own son himself, even though you thought Greyjoy was bad. Yeah,
he'll be the death of me. Yep. At some point, you're
Um,
wondering whether he just didn't turn his son over to John Wick, but they probably wouldn't have
I-
stopped there, I guess.
Almost thought it was going to go there at one point, but it's his son. I mean, no matter how,
It's his son, yeah.
whatever you are, it's your blood. And so he reluctantly has to go to war with John. Well, he doesn't really have a choice. John's at war with him, but so they're one of the crime families. Just we don't at this point know about others or how they're connected, but we know that John used to work for them. So another character that absolutely we all love is I was going to call him Sharon. Sharon would be a different person. Sharon.
Charon.
Charon. Charon. Which is an underworld reference, which is great.
Yeah.
He's also a satellite of the planet Pluto, and Pluto is a planet. I don't care what anyone says.
Save
Screw
Pluto.
you, yeah. Screw you, Neil deGrasse Tyson or whoever.
Darn scientists.
Yeah. So Karen. Oh, forget it. I'll just call him Lance Reddick. One of my favorite actors, actually. I absolutely adore this actor. What's funny, remember if you ever watched Fringe, which is really where he first came to prominence, he was so not skinny in it, but wasn't a lot of weight in him. My wife and I used to call him Skeletor, which was we thought we could do with a bit of weight on him, you know. He is a wonderful, wonderful actor. He's been in some great stuff. He is the concierge at the Continental Hotel. So
He can get you any Broadway show or any weapon you need.
That's right. You want a Broadway show, you want hookers and blow, you want, sorry, did I say that out loud? And you want
No,
a
you
weapon. You want a weapon, you name it. And that implies as well, Ian, has he got skills? I think we see him handling a gun in Parabellum.
Yes.
When the hotel is under attack or the fight is going on in the hotel. So he's very genteel demeanor, very refined because it's an ostentatious, beautiful hotel. But he works in effect in the heart of the Assassin Underground. So you think he must be able to kick ass too. And we see later in the second and third movies, we start to see other people who work in the other Continentals who have roles too, such as a sommelier and a tailor, except they're not really, the sommelier isn't picking wine.
I do want to taste
really, yes, you want a tasting, exactly, Dustin. So concierges, we have managers, we have concierges in these hotels. Now, another character that's in the first movie that has a little bit of important lore to add is Marcus, who's an assassin that's hired by the Tarasovs to kill John Wick, although he seems to mysteriously do his best not to kill him, going so far as to snipe others. Now, there's a suggestion that both he and John served in the Marine Corps together at one point.
What?
But that's it. Yeah, go ahead.
But what was that suggestion? I didn't know.
Well, it's a fan site theory. It's because there is a Marine tattoo on John's body. And these guys seem to be very close. So the suggestion is that perhaps they both served in the Marines at one point. Just a suggestion. It's not confirmed. It's never confirmed, never written down anywhere, but it's based on a tattoo and the fact that these guys seem to go back a long way.
Yeah, but when you take into consideration the events of the third movie, you understand that he's Russian. He came to the US as a young boy.
Yeah,
and he was brought by the League, so he has been with the assassins almost all his life.
Okay, so he's been trained purely by the assassins, not by any other kind of military force.
Yes.
Okay. Fair
That's what I
enough.
always assumed. Yeah, either that or Ra's al Ghul for your Batman fans.
Even
out there.
Angelica Houston, when he's on the theater and he see the ballerinas that we all know they're assassins, the female assassin, she says to him, "Bring any memories."
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm not the expert. I'm just putting out theories that people have said, but he certainly has lore behind him, which does impact.
That doesn't preclude him serving in the Marine Corps.
It does not. That's right. A lot of people gain U.S. citizenship by serving in the American Armed Forces. Who's to say he didn't? I'm not saying he did. Absolutely not. I'm just saying there's a suggestion out there on a lot of fan sites that they perhaps served in the Marines together. We don't even know if John did because it's a tattoo. People spotted a tattoo, but doesn't mean he did. So certainly adds a lot of lore, and we start to see there are other assassins. That was one of the whole points of him. There's more assassins that can be hired for these things. Another great character that's featuring more and more as the movies go on, which is just wonderful, and the casting is just the best, absolutely the best, is the Bowery King. The king of all the hobos in New York. Apparently, every hobo in New York is an assassin.
Dude, according to John Wick, the only people who is not an assassin is the audience.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's true.
And the
That is
pigeons.
the weird
They're
thing
the
about that,
internet.
yeah.
And the pigeons. Well, even the pigeons are suspect.
Just don't eat them.
Yeah. So he's generally friendly towards John, and I love the fact that he appears to be in some way not subservient to the high table, but nobody can go against them. But at the same time, he maintains, his organization maintains a degree of independence. So he might have to be forced by force or other reasons to do the bidding in the high table, but he does want to remain independent, and his organization wants to be independent from them. Whether they existed before the network of assassins or grew up independently, I'm not sure.
So do we know for sure that if the homeless people that he controls are actually assassins, or are they more like intermediaries that keep tabs on the assassins?
Well, it looks more like a combination between an intelligence gathering network and some of them are assassins because they have an arsenal.
Yeah, I think he is. It's an intelligence network that has a set of skills on top of that. If you could put it that way. So they do have the ability to, they've got weapons, they've got training. Generally, I think they're an intelligence network. That's the feeling I get.
Well, in that third movie too, flushes out. Each movie you get more and more on this League of Assassins, for lack of a better term. So the first movie, it's briefly touched on with the Continental. The second movie, you get more and more and more of it, and then the third movie, what's the character called? An auditor or
there's an adjudicator. The adjudicator.
Thank you. With the lady, and she's got the black coin, and she puts it on the desk, and everyone seems to be scared of that, and then he's got a big fight with the adjudicator. Not giving away spoilers, but that's kind of like, I guess, the enforcement arm of the high table. So you get more and more of the lore revealed as you go on. So I wonder what the fourth movie is gonna
because he features heavily in it too. It's the scene where they introduce him in John Wick 2 is just awesome. I mean,
yeah,
they knew damn well what they were doing with Morpheus and Neo. And the knowingness of it all I love it. I mean,
and some of the lines echo Morpheus too. I'm sure they did that on purpose, obviously. Yeah.
I just absolutely love that. And again, when they introduce this whole new set of people, the Bowery King and his network of hobos, it's another huge piece of lore added, which we didn't see coming. I'll never look at homeless people in the subway in the same way again. But yeah, who was it just said that everybody is an assassin except the audience?
Yeah.
How do you
'Cause
know
it-
we're not?
How do you know we're not? That's true. So I think it's at the end of the second movie where he's excommunicated and he goes outside into the park and everyone's
Yeah.
looking at him. Everybody.
And my side gig is not streaming about toys. It's I'm an assassin. Yeah.
That's right.
Don't cross us, anyone. Yeah. You never
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
So
Like,
I did
even
want
if,
to.
yeah, even if, sorry about that.
No, you go ahead, mate.
I would just say like that show of power that Winston had at the end of the second movie, where like he had that assassin flash mob
Hmm.
where they'd all
That's
just
right.
stopped and looked at him and then kept going when at the behest of Winston. I was like, man, I don't want to. That would be a world that I wouldn't want to live in. That's like, well, maybe I would, but I mean,
It depends on your skills, doesn't it? And your status.
yeah, I mean,
See-
skills or not, I mean, like watching
Oh,
for
you might have frozen.
my
Oh, we
own
lost you for a
enjoyment, but
second,
also
Dustin.
watching it for. I'm sorry.
I think we might have frozen. You might have frozen a little bit there, Dustin.
The pigeon carrier interrupted your stream for a second there. Yeah, we lost you for like 10 seconds. Yeah.
So as Dustin's saying, by the way, just sidebar, and we will talk about John Wick 4 later, and the spin-offs. So Mel Gibson is apparently in the Continental spin-off show. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Is he playing Mad Max though, or is he playing Riggs? See, if he was playing Riggs, that would be hilarious. But
He's playing the gynecologist from Saturday Night Live, actually, that skit years ago. Yeah.
There's a person
Um,
playing young Winston as well.
Young
Maybe.
Winston, didn't they already make a TV show called Young Winston? Wasn't that years ago? Or a movie, Young Winston, about Winston Churchill? Pretty sure they did. There's a bit of a crossover there. Young Winston. Maybe he was Winston Churchill, Ian McShane's character.
I'm assuming the show's streaming will be like a hard R, or is it going to be PG-13, or what is it on?
I hope
I
it's
don't
an
Anyone know
R.
what network it's on?
I hope it's a R, but that's, yeah, we don't know yet. So the reason this isn't, I mean, this guy's in John Wick 2, it's a Santino D'Antonio. The reason he's important, apart from the fact he's the John's biggest metrosexual foe, he's the world's most metrosexual Italian. He's an opening into a couple of pieces of lore. And first of all, he is another crime guy. I don't think it's made clear that he's not part of he's another crime family.
Yeah, he's one of the families that is part of the head of the table, but he does not represent the interest of the family.
No.
His sister does.
Yes. So we now find out through this guy and the events following this guy's introduction that there are other crime families other than the Tarasovs, and there's a high table, whatever that is at this point. But we also find out that John completed some kind of task called the impossible task in a night. He did something that was deemed impossible, and that was what allowed him to, in his view, exit the world that he was in. But this guy's got a marker that he tries to play. He must have helped John with that task, and he, as a result, has a marker which says, "You've got to do something for me." And John refuses, and then he ends up losing some real estate, and chaos ensues. So this guy's character introduces a number of pieces of lore, which I think is one of this impossible task thing. What did John do that was impossible? When did he do it? And what were the details? There are suggestions that he killed some incredible number of people in one night. To do what, though, we don't know.
Yeah, and it was in behalf of Yosef Tarasov.
Yeah.
Because that Yosef tell his son that what he did that night, the bodies that he buried that night are the foundation of what we are today.
That's right. Yeah. So the Tarasovs, he did it for them, and this guy, D'Antonio, assisted him in some way. I think is the way it goes, and therefore that's why he's got the marker that says you got to help me. And John says, "No, I'm out. I'm done." But he's thinking later on that he's back. So, I mean, these are not in order necessarily, but they're starting to expand the lore. We have Cassian, played by Common, not just any common actor, the common actor.
Uncommon, common.
Not common. And he is opening to the fact that there are yet more. Well, he's a bodyguard and a hitman. There are more assassins out there, and there is other Continentals, because we start to see, and there's one in Rome too. So we'll get to that in a minute. He's protecting the high table woman that John is going to kill, or has to kill, in John Wick 2, who is Gianna D'Antonio, which is Sabatino's sister.
Yes.
That we just saw. So he says, I need you to go kill my sister, who's on the high table, so I can take her place. So there's a high table, and people can be swapped out in it by nefarious means or other. Common is protecting her. For some reason, he continues to protect her even when she's dead, but I guess it's just
Revenge.
Hey, 32.
Hey, Nick, buddy,
Nick.
how are you?
Hey, Nick.
We're here's so 32 flavors of Nick Visor, our buddy, the Toxic Tuesday maestro. As we say tonight, it's Toxic Tuesday, John Wick 3. So, but yeah, so Common is also, we don't know if he dies or not. He may return.
Because he leaves
I
him with
hope so.
the knife in his chest, right? So
Yeah, he's
he
got a
says,
big knife.
If you remove it, you'll die. Yeah.
Yeah, professional courtesy. He leaves it in, doesn't pull it out. So he may survive, and I hope he does, because I like Common. I like him a lot. I like him a lot. So, so Santino's sister, Gianna D'Antonio, is on this high table, and she hangs out in Rome. She's on the high table. We still don't know too much about the high table. Apparently, it's comprised of 12 people, 12 crime families. And they must have created this thing to regularize their business. Is anyone above them? We'll find out. But he's so apparently assassinating somebody in your family to get rid of them so you can take their place is okay, though. That's not against the rules. And she does go out in that one. So we've discovered through the events of John Wick 2 that there's a Continental in Rome. So there are Continentals everywhere. There's one in Morocco.
I think that's the best looking manager of all the hotels. I'm just
That is the best
that guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that dog is a beautiful looking dog. Those dogs are gorgeous. You're right.
I don't
Oh,
think
you're
it's
talking about
the same.
Oh, we're not talking about the same thing.
Which dogs?
So this is Sophia Al-Azwar, played by Halle Berry, who I have to say kicked ass. You know, she was awesome. She put
Well,
the
she was
work in.
supposed to get as Jinx. They were working on a Bond spinoff with her. It never happened. But
Yeah,
that one could have been an interesting movie, maybe. But
could have been. I mean, a lot of people over the years have kind of dissed her for various reasons. A lot of people love her. She supposedly, like all actors and actresses, is very difficult to work with. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I got to give her kudos. She put the work in for this movie. When
no,
you
she
see
was great
that
in it. Yeah.
she put the work in for
Yeah,
the
she's great,
tactical
yeah.
work. She did a ton of work. Nothing but thoroughly professional from what everybody else involved with the movie says, and took herself into the action realm even more than the Bond or X-Men. So
And
good
she
for
looked
her.
great doing it too.
She looked great. I mean, Halle Berry kicking ass. When you see we could show the little video of her. Let's show it now doing the tactical training. We might as well show it now. I was somewhat attracted. We'll
You
take
liked
a
her
little look
gun.
at. We'll take a little look at that video if you just give me a second to find it. So it's a good time to have a little break from talking and show a little clip.
Yep. And of course, the dogs become a tie-in too with the characters and.
Well,
Uh,
however, we have a go to our ad break, so you can have some more little time to find the video.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
See you after the break.
Here we go.
Hi guys, this is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom, an anniversary without her husband, her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsmen. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA.
God, who is that guy?
I don't know, Jerry.
Yeah, is it this guy? Sorry. Welcome back, everybody out there on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and KGRA Digital Radio. Great to have you all here. Thank you to everybody in the chat for your continued comments and contributions. You're saying a lot of interesting stuff and pointing out a lot of lore, and a lot of things are coming. Anna was mentioning the training videos that Keanu and Halle Berry did. So let's just have a little look at some of Halle Berry's training.
Oh,
that was solid.
Shooter ready?
So yes, I was for some reason was strangely highly attracted to these scenes.
They can shoot with us anytime.
Like, you know, is this the
Wonder
ideal
why?
Is this the ideal woman? I don't know.
Oh, well, just don't make her angry. He wouldn't like her when she's angry.
We'll show.
Well,
Oops.
Not only she trained on weapons, she became I think a licensed dog trainer just for this movie.
Yes, and I just want to go back to the image again that we had up. Sorry, I've share screen. There we go. There we go. Yeah, so she like Keanu did, and we'll show a bit of him training later too with Tactical. These videos are all on YouTube, and if you haven't seen them, go watch them because they're incredible. The amount of effort these actors have put into this, Keanu and Halle Berry particularly, is just incredible. She, so she got a dog license, dog handler training thing too. Yeah, you're saying, Martin?
Yeah,
that's incredible. These dogs actually are. I'm not a big, I don't know a lot about dogs. Apparently, they're Belgian Malinois, and they are incredible. I mean, the level of training they must have had over their lives is phenomenal. But her character then, she's managing the Continental in Morocco, Casablanca, in fact. She has a past with John. They have a marker in common. She at first refuses to help him when he goes to her, but then has to honor the marker and ends up helping him. She supposedly has a daughter, but we don't know anything about her. But also she probably is one of the ballerinas who are the female, although what that means in 2023, I don't know, is a group of the female assassins who are trained under the name the ballerinas. She's probably one of those. She's like Scott Malkinson with boobs, yeah. And Ballerinas, of course, is one of the spin-off movies they're talking about making about just the ballerinas, who are the, if they're all like Halle Berry, then they kick ass. Funnily enough, the dogs had the body armor too, which is interesting, and they had spare ammo clips in the body armor, which I thought was awesome. So absolutely, she's the equal of John in skills and a formidable opponent or friend as a helper, and manages the Continental in Casablanca. So, also though, we start to find out who is above the high table. Is there somebody above the high table? John has to go to Casablanca because he has to be redeemed, or to find this guy, the Elder. He's the mysterious head of the high table, a mystical guy who resides somewhere in the desert, somewhere free completely of cell phones and GPS that satellites can't see. Because if they control the satellites, that doesn't matter. So he's out in the Moroccan desert somewhere, and John has to find him by following constellations, the old-fashioned way, charting his progress by stars. And he can redeem John and revoke the excommunicado status, although he tells him he has to kill Winston to do that, because Winston refused to show fealty to the high table. So the high table has this guy above him. Now, what his background is, I don't think we really know beyond that. Was he one of the families? Was he just an assassin? Is he something else entirely?
Big oil.
Big oil, yeah. But the fact that there is someone above the high table in itself was a major add to the lore, and that he has powers, and everyone theoretically listens to him. I mean, John cuts his finger off for him, pays fealty to him, pays homage to him. So
it's like when you're watching Star Wars and Darth Vader is the the evil bad guy, and then wait a minute, what? There's an emperor? There's someone that actually Darth Vader actually reports to?
Yeah.
I mean, not on that same level, but it's just the same idea where it's kind of a shock where there's who could tell Darth Vader what to do.
That's right. No, I think that's actually a pretty good comparison in some ways. Yeah, there's somebody that even these people in the high table have to do what they're told. He's ultimately controlling everything, we think. I mean, for all we know, there's even layers above layers. I think it would get a bit silly, but hopefully he's the guy. He is the guy, because at least we know where it all stops then. But very little about his background do we know that I'm aware of, other than the fact he's really hard to find.
Yep, got to keep walking the desert, right?
Yeah. So we've got the Continental in New York, and there's malls, as we find out, apparently one in every major city. We've got the Continental in Rome, which Franco Nero is the manager of. He doesn't use any nunchucks in this one. Doesn't do any of that stuff. And then we have, that's actually the building they used as the front entrance of the Casablanca Continental. It doesn't look like that inside or in the movie, of course, but that's the actual door they used. This is some of the it's actually really, I mean, I love the cinematography and the set design in these movies. There's just some beautiful stuff in the content of the hotels, in the various rooms in the hotels that we discover exist. There's just some beautiful stuff. The settings in like in John Wick 4, you see the Eiffel Tower setting and so on. Brilliantly filmed, absolutely beautiful. Has a very distinctive cinematography style with the color palette they use. I don't know so much about that technically, but you guys might know more. I think they look great. They look fantastic. And the fight scenes around here are just incredible. So, as we mentioned earlier, there is the high table, we're assuming, has a network they control. And it's these guys. Not just the three of them, of course, there are more. I don't know if we saw any guys in there. It seemed to be all women.
I think there were some. I think they may have been trans men, but
well, this is it. We don't know. It's 2023. I mean, they could have been hermaphrodites. We don't know. So they're kind of like the nerve center. I don't know if we actually get a kind of a name for this, but it's. I call it the nerve center. Could be the control room. Could be whatever. I'm assuming they're working for the elder and the high table in some way. And this is where all the contract work appears to go on. Contracts are put out, contracts are bid on, contracts are taken, but they also communicate through. And I love the setting because they've made it kind of low tech. Would you agree? It doesn't look super high.
That's probably so they're not found out by other people.
Yeah. It's kind of got it's like an old underground bookie with the underground gambling place. They're taking calls and putting it up on the board. And,
yeah,
I mean, they've got computers, but they all look like they're the old green screen monitors. And
yeah, they had like an original IBM PC monitor, and it looked like it was hooked up to a Commodore PC. Or it's tough to catch, but an old school. One of the old standalone, like trash 80s. It looked kind of like a Commodore to me, but really cool, low tech, so it can't be hacked, maybe, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do like, I think up at the top here, maybe, I might be wrong, but is that $14 million USD pending Central Park? Is that John?
That's John. Yeah.
That's John. Yeah. That's
because they update it. They go from, and I think they keep they raise it a few times too. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like the other ones underneath. These ones are all areas in New York. And we discussed that on Toxic Tuesday about whether the contracts are universal or local or could be both.
This seems like it's all New York. Though. Yeah.
Yeah. So these are all local. Like they're not. So there must be more than one of these rooms.
Well, probably every hotel around the world has one for their area, I guess, and then then they put the the stuff up on the bulletin board, I guess, the assassin's bulletin board. But you had to get hired for this job. Yeah, I wonder what the benefits are. Right?
How do you get hired? Well, again, I mean, is everybody in the world working for the high table?
It's obviously there's obviously diversity and inclusion.
Well, absolutely. I mean, for one thing, you have to have certain hair colors and hairstyles, but
got to wear the pink shirt and the top there, right? Yep.
And you can smoke on the job, so I mean that's a bonus.
That's a bonus. Some of them were possibly smoking, but in other ways. But the lot of tats here, so maybe these were all ex-assassins too, or ballerinas. We don't know. We don't know the origin of any of these people yet. They recruit from the local weed shops, as Monkey Jeebus says. Why not? And how do you keep all this secret? Yeah, there's all. How do you keep it all secret? There's none of that has really gone into it. But I love the fact they've built this world from a revenge flick into an entire fantasy world. And I love that element of it, because I'm a big sci-fi and fantasy guy. So to bring that into action movies is awesome.
What's the human resources department
what consequence of?
Yeah, the human resources department.
Well, you can see the consequence of killing a puppy and stealing a dog. What do you imagine the consequences of running your mouth are?
Well, exactly. You're not going to say that. So well, I mean, they're interesting. There are connections with the Crow because of Chad Stahelski, and I mean, if I may be mispronouncing Chad's name, but so there are some connections with movies like The Crow because of that. Which I love. I love that when you get recurring actors in these things and the connective tissue between various movies. But anyway, yeah. So is this in the Continental? We don't know, do we? It could be somewhere else.
I think so.
It's not in the Continental ground.
It's not?
No.
No, okay. So it's somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, how do you put a global hit then, if this is a local one? Is there a global control room?
I always assumed that was in the Continental, but I don't know.
I think it's more like a federated thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that we don't know the division of the crime families. We certainly know that there's the D'Antonios were more Italian oriented. The Rome, they're representative on the high table in Rome. We know that the Tarasovs are based in New York or New Jersey, that area. Are the crime families all physically located somewhere and they all have one of these, or do these belong to the high table collectively? I think there's a lot of we don't know how it's organized, and maybe we never will, because that might just spoil the magic. I was kind of thinking the elder would have, he's got a central control room, but what it is he goes up to a camel and he just opens a panel in the side and there's a screen.
Well, that panel may have Wi-Fi.
It's
an elevator.
It's an elevator. He gets inside the camel. But these are
smart style.
Get smart style, exactly. So introducing these again was another fantastic piece of lore to introduce. We mentioned the adjudicator earlier. So the adjudicator has it's an agent of the high table. So they've got agents that are not assassins, but they're agents. They're doing work for them. Well, we're actually representative of the elder, really, then, because if they worked for just the high table, they might end up being conflicted. So I'm assuming that the adjudicators ultimately must report to the elder, otherwise individual high table people could use them wrongly. So so what do they do? Well, they adjudicate, I guess. They
lay down the law, right? They're the
lay
cops.
down, someone lays down the law. Like she goes to the soup kitchen to punish the Bahuri king, so on and so on, She goes to the Continental. sends in assassins to the Continental to take out Winston and so on. And so she's got authority and she's got people working directly for her. Now, are they hired contract assassins or do they actually work for her and report to her? So that's two
I guess
different
she's
things.
got the, she's got that position from the high table. So yeah, so they, what do they? They'd say the Continental is excommunicado now, or what's the word they use, or deconsecrate, or whatever. I can't remember what the word.
Deconsecrate.
Yeah.
That's
So it's
right.
no longer hallowed ground. So yeah, the Continental is now you can kill each other in the Continental. So that's the third act of the third movie, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a kick-ass act.
Yeah.
There's no confirmation that this particular adjudicator, and I'm assuming there's more than one, will return in the fourth movie, but there's possibly there is at least one adjudicator. We don't know if there are more.
There's got to be.
There is an
more, I would assume.
adjudicator in the TV series. There, I was looking at the cast. Not her though.
No, you'd think there'd have to be more than one.
Yeah.
What we're going to get in the fourth movie, though, is the introduction of another high table member. So starting to expand the high table. This is the Marquis de Gramont. So there's a French.
Pennywise.
Yeah, Pennywise. So Skarsgård, one of the Skarsgårds. Which one I don't know.
They're everywhere now, like the Baldwin brothers.
Yeah,
I
there's
was
about
thinking
12.
the same thing.
Which Skarsgård is it?
Yeah, but to my knowledge, no Skarsgård actually has killed anyone.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so the Marquis de Gramont, I'm assuming is because his name is French, so they've picked a Scandinavian guy to play a Frenchman.
Yeah,
that's terrible. How could they do that? And
unbelievable.
We do, so now we've got Italian, we got Russian mob in New York, and we've got a French high table member. At least 3 that we know of. Do we know of more? I don't know. So they're starting to bring in more high table. This is the set. I think is this the scenes we see in the trailer where they're on that plaza with the Eiffel Tower in front of them? What he's going to do and what he's talking about, we don't know. We don't know yet. But at least it's another high table member. This is just a really nice picture of Donnie Yen, who plays so he's a friend, another assassin, but a friendly assassin towards John Wick. Kane, I think is his name. Is going to be his name, and he's blind. So he's like Rutger Hauer, Blind Fury.
Blind assassin?
Blind assassin.
Like Daredevil?
Yes. Clancy Brown's in the next movie. He doesn't look like this because I couldn't find a picture of him, but he's playing a character called Harbinger.
Happy Halloween, ladies.
Happy Halloween, ladies. Yes. Yes, it's better to burn out than to fade away. So he's going to be in it, and we all love Clancy Brown. I mean, he's the man. I don't have a Clancy Brown clip. Unfortunately, I wish I had. I would play it now if I did. I do have a Death Wish one, though. It's got nothing to do with Clancy Brown. I just like that clip.
A little overkill there, but
so looking forward to him. His character is a high-ranking agent of the high table. That's all we know. Whether he's good, bad, or indifferent, we don't know. But he looks good. I've got one picture of him that I found. See if I can drag that over. No, I can't. Sorry. Here it is. Yeah. So this is what he's looking rather dapper there. Doesn't look
Donald Pleasance a little bit.
He does. He doesn't see Donald Pleasance would be fitted in great to this world, I think.
Yeah.
Donald Pleasant or Donald Sutherland?
Donald Pleasance.
No, I mean in this picture.
This picture.
Sutherland.
Could be Sutherland, yeah.
Sutherland too, I guess. Yeah, but I was thinking the guy.
He looks like a Donald.
He looks like a Donald.
He's like a Donald Trump,
Very
a Donald
distinguished.
Sutherland, a Donald. Donald, where's your trousers, as a Scottish song goes. So so he's in, and then also is the Japanese actor, whose name I will mangle as usual, Hiroyuki Sanada, is the manager of the Osaka Continental Hotel and a friend of John Wick's. Then who wouldn't be a friend of John Wick's? And he's a great actor, been in a ton of stuff, Last Samurai, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of Japanese stuff. So see him all
You're
the
not a
time.
friend of John Wick, you don't live long, right?
You do not live long, no. Or you get a big knife in your chest that you may or may not live with.
Yeah.
So that's an overview of many of the characters. I mean, the fourth movie is going to introduce a lot more of this, but there's also things that I don't have images of, but we've got currency in the movies. So the gold currency they use.
Yep.
There's been a lot of articles online about how crazy the exchange rate is, or how senseless this currency is.
The drop of a dog is 1 coin.
Yeah,
a shirt is 1 coin. One body is 1 coin.
Yeah, can we establish
the hotel's only 1 coin for the night? I mean, it should be a little more expensive than that, right?
You would think so. I mean, can we establish an exchange rate here, please? For these coins. And there's markers, which can be given to people or can be received from people, which obliges you to help somebody or do something for somebody. Possibly, I don't know whether they're always just given voluntarily or whether you've had to have done something to earn it or get it. Obviously, John has a few because he's used them and had them used against him. So there's a bunch of this net infrastructure was built up over the movies. I think it's fantastic, and we're going to find out more of it. We've got the ballerinas yet to find out more about, and so on and so on. So great world they've built. I think it would be nice at this point to show one of the trailers for John Wick 4. Hopefully, I mean, I've tested these all. We should be okay to watch one of them. And we won't get into any trouble. Just to see what's coming up. So, John Wick. We'll take a little look at the sneak peek one. Yeah.
Have you given any thought to where this ends? The table will never stop. You know this.
So we're already getting a couple of new characters.
Yep.
Clancy Brown does look good here. Now, is that John?
That's got to be John, right?
That's John punching. This setting, this is what I mean by the visual stuff in the movie. There's some fantastic visuals. The desert scenes. There's this. The Casablanca, particularly the fight scenes all through that, it looks gorgeous, but with a very muted color palette. It's certainly not fluorescent or bright, but it seems to suit the mood of the world.
Because sometimes bright colors.
Yeah, getting the new high table member.
Not even you.
Now, all those birds at the back, they all belong to Lawrence Fishburne.
The birds.
Yeah, that's the network.
Can kill everyone.
Now, come on. Who doesn't like an axe thrown at someone's head?
The one who's receiving the axe.
The one who's receiving the axe.
Yeah.
Oh, look up.
Catch.
I mean, the different ways to kill people, are thoroughly explored. Apparently, there's more killings in this than even the second and third movies. So how the hell they managed that, I don't know. Because in the third movie, it was just death incarnate. And they used everything, every piece of like glass, weapons, swords, guns, dogs, everything was used that you could possibly use. Well, now we've got an axe, which is. Which car was that?
That was a Camaro, I think. We don't see a Mustang yet. I think that looked like a early 70s, late 60s Camaro.
Yeah, and some of these
I want my Mustang back.
Mustang. Yeah. It's interesting that they had sets like the third act of fight with the fight in the Continental, where you had a lot of rooms that were very futuristic looking, high tech, a lot of lighting, high tech lighting, contrasted to the almost oldie worldy nerve center room.
Yep.
So there's almost a mixture of time frames. Is it really set in our world of today that we live in, or is it an alternative world?
Everywhere, every place, all at once.
Yeah, where the timelines are different and there's different levels of technology. It's increasingly, as the movies go on, it becomes almost like it's an alternative reality to our own. Hey, Joe. Good to see you, buddy.
Oh, Joe.
Now there's it looks like he's fighting Donnie Yen there, and yet they're supposed to be friends. Or are they fighting other people we can't see?
That's the blind. That's the blind assassin, right?
Right. John's going, "I'm here. It's me."
Maybe that's how they say hello to each other.
It's true. Yeah. Look what I've learned since last week.
You ready, John?
No, he's got the suit.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking I'm back.
Well, then that's an interesting comment, Monkey Jeebus, because there's almost, you could almost imagine a scenario where this is all in the Matrix. And John and Neo is imagining he's John Wick. Wouldn't that be the crossover of all crossovers? Wakes up at the end and he's Neo. I don't know. I don't think they're going to go there.
The movies they get progressively crazier and that's a good spot to freeze frame it there.
It is, isn't it?
But I don't want to be in the receiving end of that. Those German shepherds, in the third movie, they wreck some people too. But it seems like they go more. Now, I know some people don't like the way they went more and more into this assassin's realm. They should have stayed more like the first movie. I kind of just view it like suspend disbelief, and it's just this crazy world of assassins. It's its own universe, and just go with it. But I can see where people are kind of getting frustrated with how more and more of this, this crazy world that is just below our world that you never see doesn't make sense, because if you had all these homeless people as assassins, I mean,
Well, indeed, and I though, rather than, I think if you retained it just as a straightforward action type thing which is basically what like Taken would be.
Yep.
The Taken series. I think I prefer the introduction of this entire fantasy underworld, because it gives it much more room to grow, and otherwise it's just John Wick gets angry, kills people.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
That's the kind of the way I view it. At first I was kind of rolling my eyes, about this stuff, but then you just kind of take it for what it is. You don't ask too many questions, and just have fun with it. Enjoy the mayhem and the beauty of the dance.
I like the fantasy, almost science fiction element that introduces. I noticed that the comment from Wolverine 626 about the adjudicator. Yes, I believe the status of the actor was fluid, so that's why representation was in the movie. But yes, I like the fantasy element. I do like Monkey Jeebus's comment as well about you just pull back and it's Neil Patrick Harris watching it with his cat. You could go there in the end. If they ever said we want to draw a line under this entire thing, they could do that. I don't know if they will, but let's just finish this little clip. Ouch. Oh, I wish I'd captured that one.
Bites the dust.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Whip it good. Whip it good. You know, I watch that and I go, how could I not like that? How could anybody not like that? It's just, it gets the juices flowing. Hang on, I gotta remove, there we go. It looks awesome. We'll maybe play another little clip of one of the other trailers. So they've had premieres though. There was a premiere in London, and I think we've got a little interview clip from Keanu that I want to show for that too. Looking forward to the fourth movie. So I haven't seen any reviews. So there must be an embargo on official reviews, even from the premiere they've already had. I may be wrong. They may be out there, but just let me see if I can find that. Talk amongst yourselves.
I think I'm actually going to try and go see this in theaters.
Me too.
I haven't seen I didn't go see the second and third one in theaters, so I might go try to catch this one too. It's got to be better. It's always better on the big screen too, as good as maybe your home theater is, or your screen is, but it's always a good experience, especially you go to one of those Dolby theaters or IMAX theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Of course,
I like
cost you
John Wick. Small theater.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, the last few years, I personally have not been to a lot of movies at the cinema. Part of that was I was living in a place where there wasn't a great deal of access, and then we had the whole COVID thing. But now I've moved somewhere where I'm a 40-minute drive from a cinema, but at least I can get to one. So I'm starting to just kind of go back to one or two, but it has to be very specific ones because it's not cheap and it's a long round trip. So I did go and see Patron in January, Indian movie, and I'm going to go and see this on the day because I can go. I'm not working, so I can go and see it on the day. I think it's worth supporting the stuff that we believe should be supported, and I'm fully behind supporting the John Wick series for various reasons. One is they're great, but the other is these people like Keanu I totally respect, and the people involved in making these I totally respect. So this was I got this from Flip the Wig, whatever that is, Flip Your Wig, and this is some scenes from the London premiere.
Chapter 4, congratulations, I've seen it. Tell the world what is coming because I don't think they're ready.
What do you mean they're not ready? It's John Wick. You got to be ready. Everyone. I mean, hopefully if people go and see it, I hope they like it. And there's a lot more action, new characters.
More action.
Yeah, there wasn't enough action.
Yeah,
there wasn't enough action in the other three. No, they were so quiet. It was like watching, some arty farty movie with just two people talking in a room. It's the English Patient.
Action in this it's the most action we have in any of the John Wick films, and probably the most complicated.
Tell us a little bit about preparing to become John Wick again and why you were like, let's do a fourth one.
Well,
Money.
I think we had a reason to tell the story with John, and so I got to learn some nunchucks, got back in some muscle cars.
He has. His finger's growing back.
70s. Expand the John Wick world. We learn more about the high table. There's some new characters. And the films, I feel, they're action, they're thrilling. I think there's a lot of emotion in this film, and they're funny.
So, I mean, you can just
and
see
funny.
They're funny. They are. I love the crowd reaction to Keanu. Keanu is one of these guys. He's beloved, and for a good reason. No, he doesn't. He's not like a lot of other Hollywood actors who just spout nonsense and think there's something. Seems like a genuinely good guy. I mean, I watched a video of him the other day in a car park. He's getting on his bike, and then a couple of bikers come up to talk to him, and they're all talking about their bikes. And he just stands there chatting to them about bikes and whatever. And it's all that he's an approachable guy. He's a nice guy. He's not politically oriented. He doesn't lecture his audience. He tries to entertain them. And I respect that, you know. No one's going to claim he's John Gielgud. But what he does, he knows what he can do well, and he does it to the absolute peak of his ability.
And he does, you're talking about bikers, he does sell his own brand of motorcycles, custom motorcycles. He's a big time motorcycle nut. So, car guy, yep.
And
kind of like a Steve McQueen of our day, I think.
Well, he is a little bit, yeah, without the surly ego of Steve McQueen. But so the question around why he would return, well, first of all, every actor loves a successful franchise because they're the star. And he's been so heavily involved in building this franchise that of course he's going to do more. But each one has successively made more money, which is unusual for sequels because you often get the law of diminishing returns. They spend more, make less. So they're right. Yeah, there's a couple of reviews. I'll have to go look at those later. So the first one made about 86 million, second one 172 million, third one 327 million.
Wow.
So they've gone up, which is breaking the mold to do that. And I mean, obviously they probably spent more, although the first one looked pretty good. So, you know, how much more did they really spend? I don't know.
That one only made 87 million. Wow. Would have thought it made more.
These may well. I don't know if that's domestic or
no, but I mean, it's still it didn't make $1 billion though. Yeah.
Didn't, although that doesn't take into account, you know, streaming or physical sales or whatever. I mean,
but it did grow in popularity, though. I think, 100 on that point where you're saying, you know, I had some friends who, you know, love action movies, like, Keanu Reeves, I didn't see it or whatever. I'm like, come on, you got to go over and watch John Wick, and they're like, oh my god, this movie's the best. You know, seeing that first movie, if you're not expecting much, and you're kind of fed up with the state of Hollywood in some ways, and so it was a really nice surprise too. It's an old school movie with a modern take it's not made for a modern audience, shall we say.
It's respecting its audience. It's not going I mean, I've not particularly seen any interview or anything by the filmmakers of this that says, well, before you watch this movie, I want you to know that we've done this, that, and the other for a modern audience. And we need, if you don't like this, you're all horrible people.
Or this movie is going to save lives.
Yeah, this movie is going to save lives. It's the same as Top Gun Maverick. It's there to entertain, and they do the best job they can to build that world to make it entertaining. They don't talk down to their audience. They don't lecture their audience. They want an audience. They want fans. They don't want to try and categorize fans or whatever. So we have to support that kind of entertainment and go and that's why I'm going to go see it in the theater and why I own physical copies of the first three movies. We have to give these people our support. So I'll just finish this little clip.
Keanu, you are loved. People adore you. Even today, saying I was talking to you, my Twitter went a little bit crazy. I love that you somehow keep zen and relax. What is the secret to doing all this and then staying calm?
I don't know. This is pretty. It's surreal for sure. But you know, for me, it's great to actually see people from the cast, and this is our first public screening, so that's really exciting. And to think that, you know, we started this 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and here we are is crazy, but really special.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for all the movies. Go enjoy your premiere. Thank you.
Sounds like a normal guy.
Yep, absolutely. So we got that. I would like to just credit Flip Your Wig on YouTube, who that clip came from. So go check that out. But yeah, so that's it's interesting. They had a premiere in London, and I think there's another one, whether they've had it yet or not, was going to be at South by Southwest in Austin, and then the general release March 24th. I'd like to welcome our great friend Paulie.
Hey, Paulie.
How are you, buddy? Thanks for joining us. It's going to blow up. If the others have all gone 86, 172, 327, I cannot see why this one will not be 500 plus. if not more. So
it's got to do better than Ant-Man.
Well,
I
yeah,
hope.
I mean, I don't know the figures on that, although it's not done that well. But I think I would like to see this reaching 500-600 million or more. That's just my personal opinion. I'll certainly do my bit by going to see it. Support the stuff that we love. I think is very important to do so. But we shall see. And as somebody in the chat said, it was sorry, who said it? There are reviews out already.
Yeah. Variety.
Yeah,
The
Wolverine
Hollywood
66.
Reporter.
Yeah, so I
And
won't
The
look at those
Guardian.
now. And the Guardian, well, of course, the Guardian, the Guadrian, as we used to call it, the Guadrian didn't like it. And the reason it was called the Guadrian in the UK was they were so bad at setting their type that they used to make spelling mistakes all the time, including once the header was the Guadrian instead of the Guardian. So they actually screwed up their own newspaper banner once, so they became the Guadrian. Okay, so the reviews are coming from the South by Southwest screening. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Absolutely.
Huge.
So, huge. It's going to be huge. And I'm sure there'll be a
Huge
little
and
more
wet.
Huge and wet. I'm sure there'll be a little more chat about it later on Toxic Tuesday on 32 Flavors of Nick Pfizer. So what else have we got that we need to talk about with this wonderful world that has been created? I think we all mentioned the training. We saw a little bit of Halle Berry's training experience with Takan Tactical. I think it's probably nice. Hail to you, Polly. Nice to take a little bit of a look at Keanu's efforts with a couple of behind the scenes clips. So here's one I'd like to show you. Talk amongst yourselves.
I want to go to Terran Tactical.
Oh God,
Looks like
yeah.
fun, yeah.
So
So
this
buddy
is
who did some of those classes. Yeah, really loved it. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of insight into the John Wick 3 training behind the scenes.
Rule that very few even directors know. There's no separation between story and action. The story doesn't stop because you start driving a car or start shooting a gun.
For me, action has always been about if I'm there, then that connection between the audience and I and the character is close to visceral emotional impact.
So that's not so much the we have the Takan Tactical stuff. This behind the scenes stuff is more talking about some of the other aspects of it. Now, I liked what the director Chad Stahelski there said about the action being part of the story. You're not just getting in a car and going somewhere, and then you get there, then the story recommences. Or you're not just picking something up and doing something with it, and then the story recommences. Everything is important to the story. I think that's a very good way of putting it.
Years of doing the John Wick training, the physicality, the martial arts, and then the weapon work, I've gotten better. So I'm really the ceiling, because the vision is always bigger than me. And when you're the limit, you can always get better, because the vision is always greater than you.
I just marvel at the amount of effort put in by Keanu into this physically. It's the level of commitment is insane.
He's also being pretty modest there too. He's acknowledging, that he's what limits things. So, but he can always get better. I love hearing a quote, quote like that, because for example, like the Power Man or Iron Fist, Marvel TV show. The actor only had, I think, like 3 weeks or 4 weeks to prepare, and everyone, trashed him, and he wasn't that good in the series in terms of the martial arts. Or they should have had him wear a costume so they could replace him. But all these scenes with, it's him. He's always in a suit, right? He always looks great. He's always dressed up, but you can't hide who he is, like you can in some of these superhero things. other than stunt doubles and taking some quick shots, but for the most part, it looks like him doing all these martial arts, some intense wrestling and action in this, and it always looks top notch too. I mean, you go to look at an old action movie from years ago, it just doesn't hold up the way we expect that today too, as a modern audience, I guess, for our heroes to be either really strong or believable in their roles, and it just shows you why it looks so good, because he just he puts in the time to train, and he's making a lot of money, but he's also not just showing up at the job and slouching it, which is why I think they've been successful.
Not really saying, you know what, I'll just do the talking and I'll have a stunt double do everything else. He's committed fully to it. And I mean, who wouldn't want to learn those skills if you had the time and ability to do so? I just wanted to pop back to a couple of quotes. So Eastland Burkholder, I got a dog 4 days ago. I can relate to John Wick. That's the closest I'll ever get as well. Now, just again,
Pitbull?
our great, Pitbull, what, the singer, the rapper. So our great friend Polly on the Latino Slant channel. I know I'm a simp because I'm a major member of that channel. Is one of the most fantastic channels on YouTube. And Paulie gets the most incredible guests from the movie world and other guests. So he's got Marco Zaror coming on, who's an insane martial artist actor in John Wick 4. So this is Marco. He was in Machete Kills, is the one thing I can recall him from, Machete Kills. Paulie, what date or day is that coming on? And we can just mention that on the stream here. So let us know. But that will be an incredible and fascinating experience. Looking forward to seeing that one, Paulie. Absolutely. Let us know what date that is. Cool. Good stuff. So let me go back to
and for
just
me,
a little
it's
of this,
such
a little bit more.
And a pressure, but also it's the best kind of, like, you've got to be better to realize the vision, because then the character and the story can be more profound.
I do like the fact that he's fighting the Home Depot there, as you could see earlier. All the Home Depot boxes. So the enemy is the Home Depot.
And with John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, the vision was really...
We just remove that for a second so we can see that. So it'll be in the next week, date and time to be confirmed. Also check him out in the Undisputed 3. Okay, will do, Paulie. Thanks for that. And obviously we'll make sure... I'll make sure to publicize that in anything I'm doing. And you're also welcome to join these streams at any time you want, my friend, if it's a subject you're at all interested in. I know that just to blow our own trumpet, we do have coming up on this show, if I can find the damn, on this time slot in, not that one. Okay, I'll talk about that one later. I do have coming up on Pop Culture Minefield, I think it's April the 4th, we'll be have Sean Lowe, who's the producer of the independent movie, the and I always mispronounce this martial arts term, The Last Kumite, is coming on this show to talk about that movie. It stars Cynthia Rothrock and various other people. So we're getting a little bit more into the martial arts coming up. Let me just remove that. That wasn't the... I needed my producer to find that one.
It's tough to find these things when you're
well, I'm talking,
stream, right? Yeah.
But yeah, look forward to Paulie's stream. That'll be good. So just to go back a little bit to this. Oh,
yeah,
another axe in the head.
That was it's the third movie, the second.
Yeah.
Our goal is to have the actor.
You can only do that once in a movie. Once a movie, it loses its impact otherwise. Unless you're the one getting the axe in the head.
To do as much as possible, so we can have the longest takes with them in action, and then we'll jump in if insurance, or we just feel that they're not going to be safe in something like a car hit or high fall or anything like that.
Oh,
that
look
was
at that.
the end of the third movie.
And those physical, practical stunts. I mean, everybody loves that. When you can think of the amount of CGI crap we're getting in things like Marvel movies, the physical action, there's no substitute for that, in my opinion.
Yep.
And just get as good as a stunt guy. Not learn moves, but literally be trained as a martial arts stunt performer. Your own falls, your own rides, your own cars, your own motorcycles, and get in the mix.
I think if there's any other action actor or actor, there wouldn't be a John Wick. I think he's the only one that can play him. He can do everything. He's just as good as any stunt guy out there.
So there's an interesting comment. Nobody else could have played John Wick. And this is a fun game we always like to do with movies. Is that a statement you guys agree with?
I think it had the level of seriousness with like that light spatter of comedy mixed in. I think he is the only person who could be John Wick as we see it now. Because I think if they had another actor in there, they may have been able to do the physicality, but it would have been a different all-around movie.
Yeah, this is obviously after the fact. It's very hard to unsee someone in a movie. I can't think of anyone else that has the aspects of Keanu that could have played John Wick in the way he has. I mean, there might have been guys that were more outrageously action oriented, then it would have become something else. There might have been guys that were more method, serious, dramatic actors, but then it would have been something else. I think they've got the right mix. I don't know what you think, Mark. But,
yeah, I think. I mean, as Davina was saying, yeah, I guess he had a lot of martial arts training from The Matrix. I guess I don't know a lot. Did he continue with that? But I would think that if an actor, like I mentioned, Power Fist, the actor had no martial arts background and just kind of thrown into it, which is kind of unfair to him. But and you can see how Reeves has gotten better and better each film too. I think just watching the third one tonight, I think the action's even sharper in this. So, and he's got that kind of, you don't expect him to be an assassin, but he's got that look. If you initially, if you look at him in Point Break, and he was kind of or Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. If you went back when that Bill and Ted came out, he's going to be a huge action hero in 20, 30 years, and he's going to be this killer assassin. But dude, what are you high? What are you smoking?
I think it takes a level of maturity in age terms, and he obviously reached the right point. I mean, John, what do you feel about the role?
Yeah, there's no one that could have done John Wick except Keanu Reeves. It's not just the fact that he is, suited for the role. It's the fact that he has the commitment that no other actor really puts into his roles like he does.
Well, that level of commitment's insane. Yeah, I agree. Somebody mentioned Brandon Lee, and of course, we'll never know what he would have been capable of achieving if he had lived. I could see that if you take Brandon Lee and advance him 25 years, I think he could have done it too. It's a shame, Mark, we don't have the Brandon Lee clips that we use on Toxic Tuesday.
I have a few of those. Would take too long to load up. Yep.
But yeah, from Showdown in Little Tokyo, where I'm not even so much thinking of the
you
Crow.
Have the right
Brandon,
to die. What's the
you have
line?
the
You have the right
to die.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man as whatever.
Yeah.
You have the biggest.
Man. Blankety
So,
blank. Yep.
Blankety blank. So the
I got that one too. Yeah.
I think, but Brandon Lee in Showdown in Little Tokyo, as opposed to Brandon Lee in The Crow, I think to me is what could have developed into a guy that could have played a John Wick type character. But I think when I look around at today's, unless there's unknown actors, because you can always take an unknown actor and make them a star, or a lesser known one. I mean, Keanu is the guy for me. I think the fact that he's not necessarily emotionally the most expressive actor actually works for John Wick. It takes a lot to drag that emotion out of him. and you can see when he breaks and gets angry, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back, whatever, then it works better for me than a guy who's up and down emotionally all the time in the role. He's that levelness. Somebody mentions Heath Ledger, possible, yeah.
Well, an older Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't know if anyone saw the JVCD series. I mean, there was some humor into that, but an older, wiser. I mean, he's maybe a little bit too over the top as an '80s hero, but he, check the series out on that movie. It was he had some good moments in it as an older action hero, realizing he couldn't do all the stunts and maybe the splits the way he could. But I can't imagine anyone else in the role. But
is he tall enough though?
I don't know if he's tall enough. Yeah, Reeves is pretty tall. Yeah,
he can do the splits.
You could do the splits. Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Yeah, who else could you think of that as a
Yeah,
martial
I mean, there's a
arts
couple of
background?
maybe.
Sorry, say again?
Keanu is excellent in the role, but I think the perfect actor would have been Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh well, Jennifer Lawrence, she's already done it, I believe.
She was in the original.
She was John Wick. Yes, Jane Wick. John Wick and Jane Wick. She was all Wick. She was every Wick, everywhere, all at once. There's a couple of Korean actors I could see, but then they wouldn't be world famous. So, Hyun Bin and maybe one or two other Korean actors would be excellent. Hyun Bin particularly would have been excellent, I think, but we'll never know. It's got to be Keanu.
Yeah.
He's got the right level of star power to get it made in the first place. He's got the right acting style. He's physically capable, and he's put the effort in. So well done to him, and I definitely intend to keep supporting those.
Patrick Swayze, maybe, God rest his soul, maybe. I mean, it started, but he had that, physicality too, and
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if it would work with the
Maybe.
blonde hair and the.
Yeah, I don't know if that would
But
necessarily
he had
work.
that physicality to him that. But I can maybe see him doing too.
I think
but yeah,
Keanu's
glad
the
that-
man, and he's made it his own.
Let's not
Yeah.
replace him. Yeah, let's not recast him. Yeah.
So we'll probably be wrapping up, unfortunately, in a couple of minutes. So I just wanted to plug a couple of things and then give you guys a chance to speak. So first of all, Toxic Tuesday on 32 Flavors of Nick Visor tonight. Please go check Nick out, subscribe to his channel, and click the bell for notifications on Toxic Tuesday tonight. We're doing John Wick 3 Parabellum. It will be a lot of fun, and there will be multiple video clips of Brandon Lee talking about another man's penis. And also, I'd like to plug next Tuesday in this time slot on Pop Culture Minefield. I'm the first of a series of live streams I'm doing with roadies. This one is going to be Derek Wilco Wilkinson. These guys are, if there's such a thing as classic rock, the Rock and Roll Rowdies are the classic rock road crew. These guys were road crew for more bands than you can name through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and up to the present day. So I'm starting a series of streams with these guys individually and then collectively. There's 4 of them. These guys have got a lot of memories, a lot of photographs. It's going to be a lot of fun. So please, next Tuesday morning, the first of that series, both on here and on my own channel, Rock and Roll Rowdies. These are going to be great fun. So please join in on those. I will remove that from the stream. So quick round the houses. Dustin, my friend, what have you got going on?
I mean, outside of tonight with Nick's channel and Toxic Tuesday, just released a video today. Go check it out. It's a product with marine collagen. I know you guys are all excited about that.
Can't wait. Collagen.
Check it
I
out.
love collagen.
Yeah, marine collagen. So it's not beef.
Marine.
It's made of fish, and it's fruity. It's a blueberry pomegranate.
Nice.
But
Yeah,
that's
I-
what we do. We do the reviews.
I keep looking at stuff on your channel and thinking I should start doing this, like eating like that, and I have never done it yet. So one of these days, Dustin, I'm gonna do it.
It's really
never too late.
easy. If you like steaks, just eat steak every day and bacon
suits
and
me.
eggs.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us today, though, Dustin. Really appreciate it, mate. You're welcome
I'm
anytime.
humbled. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Mark, my friend, what's going on with you?
Oh, great to be on. Thank you. Yeah, well, of course, Toxic Tuesday tonight. I got to finish with that slideshow and getting some of those clips ready. So always fun hanging out there with you and Dustin and everyone else, and of course Nick, who's in the chat. And hey, Courtney, good morning. I always have a video a day. Well, maybe sometimes it's just a short, but I always try to have something every day on the channel, usually old toys or any kind of review. But yeah, appreciate anyone who subs. Let me since I'm actually a mod on this channel, let me put my link in my Discord. So
Martin, are we out of
sub.
time? Martin, are we out of time? Hello, Martin. Have we got time?
Yeah, it's time, sadly.
So thanks. Sorry, John, thanks for being here again too, Martin. Thank you for all your work. Thanks to everyone in the chat. It's been a lot of fun. Appreciate it very much. I see you all there and love you all. Join us again next Tuesday. See you on Toxic Tuesday tonight. And Martin, you can hit the button whenever you think you need to hit the button. You hit the button.